Shalom, first and foremost. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. And I want to say Shabbat Shalom to Akbanakwath out there, doing this truth diligently, coming at you once again with another lesson. This one is going to be titled something along the lines of could be something, could be nothing, U.S. false flag operation, right? Something like that. So, last night, right, scouring the internet as I tend to do on Sabbath, looking for news and stuff like that. Came across this on the popular Reddit, and again, it could be something, it could be nothing. Um, I don't know, man. It seems a little interesting. Now, the reason that I said could be something, could be nothing is one because you don't want to give 100% to anything that's outside of this truth, right? Of Yahweh Shem Shai, because this could be just um some bullshit, right, going around because we've seen it in the past with FEMA and doing stuff with phones. A lot of scare tactics that Edomites come up with for whatever reason to make them seem more credible. But then when it doesn't happen, they don't seem credible at all. They just seem like idiots. But for whatever reason, all right, people like to stir up fear and fearmonger from time to time. Now, what we do, we don't fearmonger. We show you that um, we show you events that have a high probability of being something, or at least, all right. When no reason to stir up fear, if I could get it right, Slakia, other than showing you that, hey, look, the Lord is getting ready to come back, all right. And should you be afraid? Yeah, you should be afraid in that regard. But it's not getting you afraid just to get you afraid like we get something out of it. It's just showing you that, hey, man, get right while you still can, because the Lord's coming back, and if you're not right, hey, that's your ass, man. But again, this could be something, could be nothing. Um, Anonymous is kind of a ugh, they've been infiltrated by the CIA and all that. They used to actually be, for those of you that don't know, all right, Anonymous is a anonymous hacking group. All right, they don't reveal their identities, of course, and they're known for wearing Guy Fawkes masks, and they're pretty big for a while. All right, and revealed some real shit. But they started getting a little weird. All right, a lot of people said that they're basically compromised, infiltrated by the CIA and FBI and all that stuff. Um, so a little weird. But again, being anonymous, who knows if they're all working together? Who knows if they're all offshoot groups? Who knows if they do know something? Who knows if they don't know something? So again, take this with a grain of salt. The scriptures, of course, going to be edifying nonetheless because through Yahweh Shemiah Shai, all scriptures are useful for. Let's go and get that actually. All scripture is profitable. Spelt it wrong, but it'll come up. 2 Timothy 3:16. It says, yeah, we'll start with 16. It says, all scripture is given by inspiration of Yahweh and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. So it's all good. All right. And I like to get the scripture as well for people that say, oh, well, Paul was a chauvinist, Paul this, Paul that. Well, all scripture is given by inspiration of Yahweh. So if you say the book of Paul is wrong, and you're saying the Lord's wrong, all right, because it was inspired by Yahweh. Verse 17, it says that the man of Yahweh may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. So, yeah, man. So scripture is unrefutable. All right, that doesn't change. Now, this could be something, this could be nothing. This whole video, I'm gonna let it roll. Again, I always just like to say, because I really don't report on stuff like this a lot, because a lot of 9 times out of 10, all right, you hear something, oh, the docks are drying up, or the trains are running low on food or something. And it turns out to be nothing. It was just a small little hiccup in the system, and then food ends up rolling back. So it's one of those things you see on TikTok or other places. They fearmonger. Oh, I'm out here. I don't have any orders. You'll get some soon. That's literally how it works with driving trucks. All right, and not that I've overdriven trucks, but from people that drive trucks, they said that's usually how it is. It's nothing new. All right, they're just trying to get popular and clout chase. All right, go viral or something, freak people out. It's ridiculous. So we don't do that. All right, things that we being the men that actually teach this truth and true sincerity, we don't try to just drum up controversy for views or dumb shit. All right, so that's why when we make these videos, we try to say, hey, could be something, could be nothing. You never know. All right, but it was a little peculiar, and that's why I want to make a lesson on it. So I'm gonna full screen this. Here you go.
Hello, my fellow citizens of America. and others across the globe. This is the architect, speaking on behalf of Anonymous. 17 days remain until we release everything. But first, there's something we feel the need to bring to light now. It may not be able to wait. This is not a drill. This is not speculation. This is a warning based on extremely reliable intelligence. We have acquired verified information that a major attack is being planned on domestic soil. It will be brutal, it will be visible, and it will be blamed on a foreign faction, one from the Middle East. But that is a lie. The operation is a false flag, orchestrated not by a foreign enemy, but by an elite shadow alliance within a nation that poses as our greatest ally, but instead is a hyper-militarized power with deep influence through sexual blackmail in our intelligence, government, and media sectors. The goal? To drag us into their war, under the guise of retaliation. But the real motive isn't justice. It's control, resources, power. A goal they can only achieve by using us as their puppets. They know that once blood is spilled here, the public will beg for retribution. They're counting on your fear. They're counting on your outrage. But now you know. And knowing changes everything. This is not just about geopolitics.
I wanted to pause it there and to basically touch on it already. So a planned attack, false flag. A false flag is when they say it was done by false. There's multiple different reasons, but in this case, they're gonna say it's a foreign adversary. All right, one from the Middle East, more than likely Iran. All right, or Palestine. All right, one of those two. Um, they're gonna say there's gonna be attack on U.S. soil. All right, a quote unquote terrorist with a T in front of it attack, and they're gonna say it was that people in the Middle East that did it. All right, it's gonna kill Americans. All right, they're gonna say it would really be the U.S. government that's doing it. All right, the CIA. All right, that would be doing it, but they're gonna say it was the Middle East. All right, just like with 9 to the 1 to the 1. All right, when they said, "Oh, it was these people," but if you look into that event, it stinks. All right, it was caused by the U.S. government. All right, you can go look at that. The insurance coverage that was put on the Twin Towers. All right, that was only full coverage for complete demolishment of the buildings. All right, and you could see that the first explosion didn't really quite do that, so they had to have another one. There's also talks about how there was drilling and banging. There's talks about how there was people coming up from the elevators, not down from the elevators, but coming up from the elevators, lit on fire with their flesh peeled off. They ripped that guy off. It's crazy. There's just so many different things, man, that just stink about it. All right, and then what about Larry, Lucky Larry Goldstein? All right, as they call him, Lucky Larry. Every single day he ate at the restaurant atop the Twin Towers, but he didn't eat on that day, not on September 11th, because he had an appointment. All right, a skin a dermatologist appointment. All right. Now they asked him years later what the appointment was, and he said he doesn't recall. If I was anywhere that literally I would have lost my life that day, and that was my building that blew up, I would have known exactly what the fuck I was doing that day. All right, I would have known exactly what the fuck I was doing that day. So bullshit. It's all bullshit. They've used these type of tactics before, and so again, it could be something, could be nothing. All right, but then they're going to use the anger. All right, mostly you maggots. All right, you make America great people, and I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm not none of them. All right, I'm a realist. Okay, the only person I follow is Yahweh Shemiao Shai. All right, so these politics, they're going to be used. All right, because that's all you are. You're a little bit. You're all you are is puppets, and especially you Trumpies. All right, are going to say it's attack on American soil. It's attack on American soil. These goddamn sand camel jockeys are coming over. Ah, I'm a war with them. Just like you people in your 30s now and 40s. No, not 30s, but more like 40s and older now. Uh, um, basically went over there to the Middle East. Said if they're going to attack my country in 9/11, I'm gonna go over there at war. All right, a lot of teenagers were signing up at that time to go out. They said, "Nah, this is attack on America. We're gonna go out, and you're gonna go lose your life for an oil and resource war, not even realizing that it was your country that You're fighting for your country, but you didn't realize it was your country that caused that false flag attack. All right, you're fighting for this. You're fighting for the same people that hurt your country. All right, stupid. So that's what he was saying. Going back, I'll rewind it a little bit, talking about they're counting on your outrage. All right, here you go.
Power with deep influence through sexual blackmail in our intelligence, government, and media sectors. The goal? To drag us into their war, under the guise of retaliation. But the real motive isn't justice. It's control, resources, power. A goal they can only achieve by using us as their puppets. They know that once blood is spilled here, the public will beg for retribution. They're counting on your fear. They're counting on your outrage. But now you know. And knowing changes everything. This is not just about geopolitics. This is about the manipulation of a population through violence, fear, and engineered narrative. In the next few days, weeks, or months, this will happen. It's a guarantee. The irrefutable proof of what's being planned is in this message. You don't have to believe us now. Just know when you see it who the true terrorists are. It is not who they will say it is. It will come from none other than our own greatest ally. When you see it, you will understand the scale. You will understand
And I thought that was interesting. He said it will come from our greatest ally. That's quite interesting. I'll go play it back. He said it will come from our greatest ally. I'm thinking, who is America's greatest ally? And I can think, America's really in it with Israel. All right, small hats, 1948ers. Now, I don't know if I'm accurate on that, but that's who seems to be currently the biggest ally because Canada's separated away. England has been, they're still allied. They want nothing to do with it. And then, of course, Trump and all his little administration, they really want NATO to go away so they don't have to rely on America anymore. And then America, in return, they're not going to have any help either. So, curious. It'll happen from our greatest ally.
will happen. It's a guarantee. The irrefutable proof of what's being planned is in this message. You don't have to believe us now. Just know when you see it who the true terrorists are. It is not who they will say it is. It will come from none other than our own greatest ally. When you see it, you will understand the scale. You will understand the pattern. If we stay silent, we walk into the trap. But if we stand together, share the truth, and refuse to be played, we can stop it. Or at the very least, wake the nation and the world up to what's actually happening. You are not powerless. You are not alone. Prepare. Stay alert. And above all, think for yourself. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
There you go. Quite interesting. Could be something. Could be nothing. A lot of interesting stuff in there. And regardless of, if it does happen or not, because he said it could be in the next few days, months, or a year. Did he say year or years? We don't have that many years left. So, but they've tried these things before. Okay, and you're saying the government would never do that. The CIA, FBI would never do that. Not against their own citizens. Well, we have proof that they would. Okay, irrefutable proof. All right, declassified CIA documents. All right, that I'm going to be showing today, and anybody can get them. You can go and look them up. All right, they're declassified. It's not like something you can't view those. They're declassified. They have been for years. Okay, and with all these declassified documents, you should know what type of people the government is. The CIA, the FBI, man, they're not your friends. They are against you. Okay, and you are their puppets. All right, they got blue version of you and the red version of you. And they make you guys war and war and war and war and war when you're the same fucking people at the end of the day. You're just Edomites, all right, warring with each other, all right, thinking that you're all working to their ultimate goal, all right. You're pushing their agenda, all right, that they need you to push, all right. And they're using the right to push a race war, all right, and they're using the left to push, what do they call it, progress, all right, for homosexualities and confusion. All right, with transgender and chopping your wieners off and stuff. They're using both of you and they put you against each other to keep strife. All right, you got to remember that they want this place in a constant feel of chaos. All right, one of their mottos is "Order ob Chaos" or "Order ob Chaos." All right, which means order through chaos. Okay, That's how they get they get their order is through chaos. Okay, because you got to realize there's different tier. The elites, all right, are not on the same puny level, all right, as me and you down here. All right, they're on a different level. They're not living the same way. They're on a completely different level. They're not, consuming what you're consuming in the same way. Okay, they're not watching the programming. It's in the name, the TV, the programming. You're being programmed. All right, it's in games, music, media, it's in all those things, and you've been trained what to think. You think that you're thinking a different type of way. All right, your own way. I'm no, these are my thoughts. And they're not your thoughts. Okay, they're not your thoughts. Well, you're not thinking your thoughts either. You're right. I'm not thinking my thoughts. All right, we don't think our thoughts. We think Yahweh Bashim Shai's thoughts to the best of our ability. Now we're at men, so we're gonna be, we're gonna have shortcomings. All right, but we don't think again, as the scriptures say, we can go and get it. Lean not. This is right here. This is Proverbs 3 and 5. It says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. Okay. So let's actually get verse 6 because it says, in all thy ways acknowledge him and he shall direct thy path. So we're not thinking, of what we think. All right. We weigh all things through the scriptures. And another one says, measure thou the time diligently. Okay. So we're weighing everything through scripture, not our own thoughts. When we see these things, all right. Let's get a scripture here. This is Ecclesiasticus 5 and 15, and it says, be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. So again, we're not using our own thought process. All right. We're using our brains through Yahweh Shemiao Shai to recall and recollect these scriptures to be like, okay, this is interesting. All right. I'm not going to be ignorant of this, even if it's small or big. All right. Because this could be something. Okay. Because we know that these Edomites, all right, the rulers of this world right now, all right, who are the wicked. Now, remember, there's a scripture we can go and get. It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Let's see. Job 9 and 24. It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. The judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Let's go and look up money. Okay. We're going to get some that's not. Let's go and look at money. First thing you see, white man. All right. What do you see over here? More white men. All right. Let's go and look up money. UK. All right. More white people. All right. You can keep on going and going and going. And you're going to see more and more white people. All right. That's who's on the money. All right. That's who's on the money. And you're say, oh, what about India? Wait, our money is completely. You're not a global power. Okay. You're not anything. All right. You're so down below, and you're gonna name China. China's a higher power, but they're Moab, and they're really in it with the Edomites. All right. At the end of the day. Okay, Esau, the American Edomites, all right, and I'll just say the elites because they're really European and all that, but they're a mixed bag. They're Jewish, all right, but they're a mixed bag. But they want to be more like China, all right. They want to implement facial scanning technologies. They want to implement where you have to have something, you scan your face before you can even check out. They want to have drone surveillance. They want to have those things in tighter internet controls where people can't freely talk to each other. They want those type of things. You're saying, but the politicians that set up for you give you a false narrative of, oh, we're America, the home of the free, blah, 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 right? All these different types of things. You don't even realize the narrative is that they want you to have less control, okay? They want you to have less control because a nation with free control is a nation that cannot be willingly controlled as easy. And it's really kind of backfiring right now. And you can see people are pissed off at the government, and they're pissed off. People are learning more now. I've heard more talk about elites and global elites than I ever have before. Back when I was young and I was learning about these things, my dad would talk about elites and stuff like that. Nobody really else. You said back in like 2005 or 4, and I don't really remember him doing it back then, but I'm sure he knew of it. But when I do remember, it was like '08, all right, '08, '09, '07, all right, for if I'm guessing. Um, if I'm being accurate and if I'm not, Slovakia. Um, but he would talk about if it's not elite, he would talk about the government and being distrustful of them, right? Because they're not your friend. And back then, if you talked about those things, a global elite, and certain things like that, certain conspiracies, they'd label you as crazy. And sometimes, to an extent, now they will, but it's very on a smaller level compared to back then. A lot of people do believe that there's a global elite. A lot of people, like I mean, there's got to be a higher percentage now than there was before. Okay, I've heard more talk about it. So, but yeah, man, the earth is given in the hand of the wicked. Who do you see on the money? The so-called white man. All right, and to prove it, and another thing about you can find out, well, you mentioned Esau a lot. Well, that's because Esau. Well, we can get border of wickedness. All right, this is Malachi 1 and 4. You can go all the way up to verse 1, Malachi chapter 1. It says, the burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi. It says, I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob. Again, showing you that he didn't love Esau, he loved Jacob. It says, and I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and so the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. So you got to realize that's another thing, is that the Lord has a special hatred towards Esau, towards Edom, because they're the only one that will have, like it says, the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. It doesn't say that about anybody else. All right. And they're the only ones that will receive zero amount of mercy from the Lord. Zero, none at all. Even the nations will receive a form of mercy. All right. Once they're in their, of course, we're going to be in rule over them, kind of like how Esau is in rule right now, but we're going to be ruling in righteousness. Okay. And the heathen are actually going to have a better time under our rule than Esau's rule, because Esau can't rule for a shit. He's a terrible ruler, right? So, they're called the border of wickedness, the wicked, the wicked. Esau Edom is the wicked, all right? And the earth is given the hand of the wicked. Who's controlling the earth right now, all right? And in primary, you look into NATO, all right? It's all white European nations, okay? So you look at the EU, all right, NATO and the EU, they're the two big things, all right? It's all white nations. Who's controlling the earth? All right? White man, Esau, Edom. All right? If you don't believe it, that's just because you don't have the spiritual ability to. Okay? And not everybody that looks white, all right, is an Edomite. Okay? I look so-called white, all right, but I'm an Israelite. It's not about skin color at the end of the day, but skin color can be used in a way, but it's not really a 100% determining factor. All right. Now, 99% of the white people you see out there are Edomite. 99% of the so-called black people you see are Judite. All right, or Southern Kingdom of some sort, Judah, Levi, or Benjamin. All right, and a lot of the Latino-looking people are Northern Kingdom. Right. So Gad, the Native Americans, so-called, the Ephraim, the so-called Puerto Ricans, all right, Issachar, so-called Mexicans, right, and so on and so forth, Manasseh, and so on and so forth. All right, Naphtali, so you got a lot out there, and sometimes you'll have an Issacharite, all right, that looks like a so-called black person, an Issacharite, and I'll just pull up the chart real quick here to show you. That's the wrong one. Sometimes this is the chart right here. You can pause it and find it. And just because you don't look like a so-called Negro or a West Indian or a Haitian or Dominican or Guatemalan or Panamanian or Puerto Rican or Cuban, North American Indian or Seminole Indian or Argentinian or Chilean or Colombian or Uruguayan or Mexican, doesn't mean that you're not an Israelite. All right, because you got to realize we've been thrown in the melting pot. We've been around here. We've been getting down with the women. And again, this is a type of subject that needs a lot of other scriptures and a whole lesson dedicated to it. And we have them out there, so you can search them out. But, the seed line comes through the father, all right? So if your dad was an Israelite and he pops a white woman, all right, you're still an Israelite. But now there's a little bit of creamer added to that coffee, all right? And then you grow up, and here you are, you're an Israelite, but now you're a little bit whiter, and you go and pop another white woman. Now guess what? Now that kid's even whiter. After a few generations of that, maybe one or two, all right, you look like a complete Edomite, all right? But you're not, okay? The same thing can happen with a Puerto Rican or a so-called Mexican or an Iscarite. Where their dad might have been black, but they got with a Puerto Rican woman, and they got with another Puerto Rican woman, another Puerto Rican woman, another Puerto Rican woman, down the line, down the line, down the line, and now you look like a Puerto Rican, all right, which is another Israelite, but you are really just a Judite, all right, which would be a so-called Negro, but you don't look black. All right, you look like a Puerto Rican. All right. Either way, you'd still be an Israelite, but you think you're an Ephraimite, but you're really a Judite. All right. So for a while, like we trace back, try to trace my line back as possible, and you get stopping points, right? And we don't because we don't. My dad doesn't know who his real dad is, but we came to the conclusion that the guy is apparently allegedly a Mexican guy, but we came to the conclusion that I'm more than likely not in Northern Kingdom. All right, because I've had you know back in the past issues, with not being so fond Northern Kingdom, and that's that rivalry. All right, with there's a script that at least with Puerto Ricans and Judah, it says Ephraim shall not vex Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim, if I'm remembering correctly. There's the Southern Kingdom and Northern Kingdom have like beef kind of. That's why you see a lot of so-called Negroes, West Indians, and Haitians having beef. All right, with so-called Mexicans or Cubans or whatever. They beef each other. Get out of here, you man! You black son of a bitch! And they're like, yo, man, why you talking to me like that? Right? Because there's beef. All right. But I've always gotten along with so-called black folk, no problem, no problem. I never had an issue. Never had a fight with a so-called black person. Never really even had little bigger arguments and stuff like that. But I've never really had any true like issues. Like God damn those motherfuckers, right? And I grew up in Arizona, so Issachar is deep out there, man. And but like I said, and it's true. I have no problem with the Issacharite brother. It's just we don't like those regular Mexicans out in the world, just like we don't like regular so-called black folk out in the world, right? They call ninjas for YouTube, and ninjas is the same as a beaner, man. All right, there's a difference between being black and a ninja. There's a difference between being a Mexican and a beaner, man. So it's just it's that hood, just disgusting, vile, clout chasing this thug wannabe culture. Nobody likes that, man. And all of the tribes of Israel got their own version of it, man. We all got our own version of it. All right, you got the regular old thugs with Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. You got the cholos and the vatos and the cholas, right? And the all of them with them. You got the I don't know if they have a name for it. You got the rough Native Americans that they're wild as hell, man. You see them down in Arizona a lot. You got the Cubans that are same way, man. So it's all throughout. We got different flavors, all right. But let's came to the conclusion that I'm somewhere in Southern Kingdom. I thought I was Judah for a while, but speculation that I could be Benjamin, all right. Which I'm open to that fact. Who knows? And at the end of the day, it's speculation. You're not gonna, the Lord's not gonna come down and directly say you are 100% Ephraim, right? But you'll know in your spirit, all right. And I knew for a while. Well, I thought I was like, well, I guess I got to be Issachar because I go back to so-called, Mexican. But something there, growing up, was more involved in black culture, you know, liking black girls and just all in that type of stuff. And the way my lifestyle was and went, it just fit more of like a Judite almost. But it's hard to differentiate Judah between Benjamin just from a right and standard because they act similar. All Southern Kingdom kind of acts similar. All Northern Kingdom kind of acts similar. Not 100%. All right, but there's similar qualities, so it's kind of hard. But it's easier to tell if you're Southern Kingdom or Northern Kingdom. You can get that one pretty much easy out of the way, right? So, again, it's just all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemi Shai. And it's not integral that you know which one you would absolutely. I 100% have to know. I go back to Zebulon. It's not integral as long as you know you're an Israelite and have some speculation. Could be Southern Kingdom, Northern Kingdom, not necessarily. Could be Issachar. As long as you have some speculation about it, you're fine, right? But you got to know you're an Israelite. And you know, getting back on topic, that's why they do all these things. It's all directed at us, man. All right, they always have beef with us, and then of course they have beef with nations. Esau has a superiority complex. That's something you need to realize about them. They have this thing, they want to be above the above. They want to be the Lord. All right, there's that script that says, "I shall sit in the throne of the Most High. I shall be, or no, I shall." We'll just get the scripture. I shall be like the Most High. This is Isaiah 14:14. We'll start with 13. It says, "For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahweh. I will also sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. And that's hubris, man. Um, then we got to get 15 because it says, Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? Because it's gonna be, you're gonna be like, really, this is the fucking guy? No way. This couldn't have been him. He looks pathetic. All right. It says that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners. So they're gonna be a really like an astonishment. It's gonna be like, really, these guys, these are the fucking guys. They did all that, really? Wow. Okay, because these guys look pathetic. Because Esau is gonna be brought low. Okay. Um, is that a scripture? Am I or was it? Well, in the day it talks about, then shall that wicked being revealed, and that's gonna be really them being brought low is sit in the dust. Right here. This is Isaiah 47:1. It says, Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. You're just going to be, just done. All right. You're just going to be done. And you're going to be revealed and you're going to look pathetic because you don't even, and that's because you're godless. You're profane. No one is profane as Esau. One morsel of meat sold his birthright, right? That's a scripture. You can look that up. But there's no one as profane as him. So, he doesn't acknowledge the Lord. The Lord is not in all his thoughts. Another scripture, you can go and look that one up. The Lord is not in all his thoughts. So I'll go and get it. This is Psalms 10:4. It says, The wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after Yahweh. Yahweh is not in all his thoughts. Again, the wicked. All right, talking about the border wickedness. The wicked. Esau, Edom. It's mentioned in Malachi. So the wicked, all right, he doesn't think about the Lord because the Lord is not in his thoughts. So he doesn't realize he was put in this position of power as a whooping stick, all right, a beating stick, a scourge, all right, a switch, all right, a hand, all right, on the bare ass of Israel. He doesn't realize that he was put into this position for us as punishment, all right, because we went off, all right, we weren't following the Lord's statutes and commandments. We weren't doing what the Lord said. The Lord said go right, we went left. He said sit down, we stood up. All right, he said be quiet, we spoke. All right, so the Lord said, okay, you want to do that? All right, diaspora, boom. All right, and kicked us out of our land. We got overthrown in Israel, thrown out of our land. All right, diaspora scattered amongst all nations. All right, thrown in the melting pot, served among strange gods, and the amount of people whose language we didn't understand. It's all in Deuteronomy. And bad health. All right, women started even being worse. All right, the Israelite woman already had issues with haughtiness and pride, but and stretch forth the neck and twinkling of the toes. But now it's even gotten worse. Now they have, now they're evil towards their husband and until their children. They act like complete bitches. Now the Israelite man isn't a good father. He separates from his children. Now you don't really get to enjoy your child. It's hard labor. All right, you get to be called slurs. All right, that's the curses that were put on us. All right, and they only fit us. All right, and they don't consider that they were only put in this position of power as a whooping stick. All right, a beating stick. All right, a rod of anger against us, Israel. All right, you're not even important. The only thing you're being used as is a physical version of a hand whooping an ass. All right, that's all you are is the whoop ass, man. That's it. All right, so you can't say, "Oh, we're so royal." You're not royal, man. All right, your idea of royalty is eating with a fucking different shaped fork. Okay, that's not a form of royalty. That's like pedantic little kid bullshit. All right, when you go and say, "Oh, you're not royal," I can't believe you're eating with a solid fork right now. Don't you know you should be using the other fork? Yeah. And on top of that, you're eating off of what do they call it? The what's that thing that goes on? The thing that goes under the plate. What are those called? The charger. Hmm. You're eating off of the charger, and you're ruining the plate. You're ruining it. It had a pewter outline, and if you completely have scraped it because you're using that fork, the other one has a higher quality of silver. It wouldn't have caused such a thing. Use the diamond tip fork, dear. That's stupid. It's stupid, man. And there was a video, this video, and I was like the charger because it's like, you're eating off the charger, and it was eating off the charger. There was a video And they didn't talk like that, but it's like, you know, just pedantic.
Margo, you ate on the charger. Oh my god. I don't know what happened to the regular plate.
I win.
That's a lower level because you ate off the charger with the wrong fork, nonetheless. Fuck out of here. God damn it. A fork is a fork. Okay? Has 4 or 5 prongs on it and you fucking use it. All right? That's it. All right? Maybe not a salad fork because you're not going to very well be able to eat with a salad fork, I think. Let me see. Is that the one? No, salad fork. I eat with salad fork. No, types of fork. Let me see. There's a fork that you wouldn't be able to eat very well with. Um, Obviously, yeah. You wouldn't want to eat your meal, all right, with an oyster or fruit fork or a crab fork. Probably not even a spaghetti fork or a cheese fork, all right, or any of these. But a dessert fork, a salad fork, a fish fork, a table fork, a pastry fork. Hey, a fucking fork is a fork, man. It's essentially a small version of a pitchfork, and you fucking stab it into your food and you eat it, all right. And then you do what you do, all right. It's just ridiculous. But this is Esau's version of royalty, knowing which fork to use. Knowing which fork to use. I don't know. Royalty seems to me if you were stronger like Jake and could run faster like Jake and were better at sports like Jake and better at music like Jake, all right, and could make better food like Jake and knew how to season like Jake and were more attractive like Jake and were the most desired by women like Jake, that's probably closer to royalty. Not oh, and you can't even handle the sun, mind you. You can't even go out there without looking like a slapped fucking ass. All right, so don't try to say you're royalty when you can't even be out in the sun without fucking boiling up and blistering up. That's a sign Yahweh Bashim Shai fucking hates your ass, man. You can't even be out in the sun without getting boils and blisters all over your body. That's a curse. All right, that's a judgment upon you, man. All right, that's horrible because of your leprous skin where the blood shows forth. All right, you have no melanin, no protection of the skin. You think the Lord would really choose a chosen people that can't even be out in the fucking sun? All right, for more than 10 minutes without, I need sunscreen. You think he'd really choose you? Fuck no, he wouldn't choose you, man. Can't even be out in the sun. Of Israel, of all the places, a very hot desert climate. Fuck no, he wouldn't have his people out there burning. Oh, please, Lord, can we stop? I'm sunburning. No, stupid, man. Fucking dumb. Dumb. You're not royalty at all. You're nothing more than a fucking peasant. All right, uncultured swine from the bottom of the gutter. Okay, but you think you're the best of the best, man. All right, and it's ever so I'm going on this because you can tell who you are and that's why you try to hide who we are. You try to hide who you are. You try to say you're not the Israelites. These people are the Israelites because they're white, right? And they look like you. You don't want it to be us because once we find out it's us, we find out we had a rivalry. Who's the rivalry with? Oh, Esau, our big brother. And we find out what Esau did and how he looked. All right, and he was red. All right, and he was leprous. All right, and he wanted to kill us. And then you go on to find that he liked warring and really liked war and going to other countries and taking things by violence. And he loved land. He was so greedy. He loved taking land from people and going and colonizing places. Uh-oh. Who does that sound like? It's almost that's the reason you don't want us to find out who we are. All right? Because then we find out who you are. Esau, we can go and get that. He covet fields. They don't see. Let me see. Look, they don't like it to even show up. They have one. They covet fields, and you got to almost have it all the way typed out. All right? All right? You got to almost have it typed out. All right? But here it is. This is, again, Micah. All right? Going back, Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. They can do it, right? Because the earth is given in the hand of the wicked. They have the power to do it, so they do it. Number 2, verse 2. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man and his heritage. That's what they do. And you have these Edomites, like, for example, my boss, because I was talking about Diddy and all these different types of people, and he's like, no, it's not because, this or that or Hollywood. He says it's because they have money. It's not about that. It's about because they have money. If you have money, you can do anything you want, and once you can have it, You'd be surprised what you start to do. And in my head, I said, no, you'd be surprised what you would do because I know you'd be fucking little kids if you had money. All right. I know you'd be doing those things if you had money. I wouldn't be doing those type of things if I had money because I have no interest in doing that type of sick, twisted shit. If I ever had money, I'm not. My first thought isn't, you know what? I'm gonna have sex with a kid and chop someone's head off, and then I'm gonna have a nice oyster dinner. That's not in my fucking. Jake doesn't think like that, right? Jake doesn't think that. At least not until they get that money and start hanging around Edomites that say, hey, if you want to keep this money, you're gonna have to do some of this shit. Well, what? Yeah, or we're gonna make you disappear. As a matter of fact, all right. So choose which one you want to do. What? You know. So and they already had to do evil shit to get into that position of power anyway. They had to become like the Edomites to live like the Edomites. All right, that's what you need to realize, Jake. All right, in order to become, in order to live like an Edomite, big nice house, fancy cars, 3-car garage, 15 different women that come over and do a little bit of knob work, being as easy as I can on the Sabbath as it is, and do all that type of stuff. If you want to live that lifestyle, 10-car garage, McLarens and all these different type of cars and shit. If you want to live like an Edomite, guess what? You got to act like an Edomite. So guess what? When they say you got to fuck that kid, you're going to have to do it. When they say you're going to have to fuck that goat, you're going to have to do it. When they say, hey, boy, bend over and grab your toes, all right, and we ain't using no Vaseline, guess what? You're going to do it. Or you're not going to make it, all right? You're not going to ever get to live like an Edomite, okay? And that's the first step where you go wrong and you do it. And then once you're in that, now you have perpetual favors you have to give. Esau will call you up one day, say, hey, you need to do this. What? You need to do it. Come over here right now. We got another kid waiting for you. We got this person you need to sacrifice, or we're participating in this blood ritual. Come on over. All right. And you're going to think that it sounds crazy. It sounds bugged out. That's what they do, man. And time again, these little fucking shits slip from Hollywood and Hollyweird, and nobody believes it until it's out. And, we were talking about people, doing shit like Diddy shit years, all right, before the whole Diddy thing came out. All right. People were leaking shit about Diddy here. Nobody believed it. No, that's not happening. No, that's a conspiracy theory. No, Diddy wouldn't do no Diddy party. And then now he's in like, oh yeah, Diddy's a sicko. No, shut the fuck up. You can't say Diddy's a sicko. You can't say Diddy was doing weird shit or doing stuff with kids. No, you can't say none of that because you didn't believe it years ago when it was being told by people that were quote unquote non-credible sources. Right? You only believe it now that the Esau's told you it. You fucking retards. That's what you are. You're retards, man. All right. You don't believe anything unless the government approved and mandated media give it to you through your little fucking ear. All right. Meanwhile, they could be killing millions of people in the Middle East. All right. And you won't believe that they're doing that until they say, hey, we've been killing millions of people in the Middle East. Really? Huh. So I guess those guys were right. They don't ever think that either. They don't say, oh, I guess those guys were right. They think, huh, wow, that's an atrocity. They don't ever think about the times where they're arguing on the comment boards or arguing over here saying, no, that's not happening. That's conspiracy. You guys are just fucking nuts. All right, I'm not talking necessarily about us in the truth. I'm talking about anybody that has the mind's eye to see that there's weird shit going on. Because there's Edomites that have a little bit more of that perceptibility on, conspiracy theory Reddits or whatever. And they say, they're doing this shit. No, that's not happening. That's not happening. That's not happening. And then it happens. Oh, wow, can you believe that was happening? Wow, it's a sick world we live in. No. What? No, you can't believe it now. You scoffed and mocked for months on end. Okay? And now all of a sudden, because Esau on CBS told you that it's happening, now it's happening. You're dumb, man. You realize a lot of these conspiracy theories turn out to be real. They're not conspiracies at all. All right? No, it's like you. They turn out to be not theories at all, but conspiracy realities, conspiracy truths. There's a lot of things out there in the past, going back a couple years, people would say, oh, that was a conspiracy theory. But it's not anymore. All right? People thought MK Ultra was a conspiracy. It wasn't. All right? People think that cloud seeding, all right, and weather manipulation was a conspiracy theory, and it's not. During the whole attacks on Hawaii, everyone was like, oh, yeah, no, there's no such thing as DEWs. DEWs don't exist. But then if you go back and you look at a report from 2017, you find internal documentation that, yes, in fact, direct energy weapons were being worked on and tested. I thought they weren't being. I thought they weren't, and they still won't exist that DEWs exist. I wonder if now they will. So now they're saying, but a couple years ago, we were looking into it, and they were saying, no, they don't exist. All right? They don't exist at all. No, they're not. Direct energy weapons are not existent like that. And I know because I made lessons about it at the time. All right? And we looked it up. Oh, wait, no, direct energy weapons, they do. I don't think it said that they don't exist, but that they weren't in like production enough to be viable or something along this, some Esau bullshit. All right, they weren't viable enough. So you got to realize all you are is being lied to and 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 lied to, and your silly little ass wants to stay here. All right. All full of lies and robbery. Here's a scripture for you. This is Nahum 3:1. It says, "Woe to the bloody city." It's talking about Babylon. Woe to the bloody city. It's all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. Who is the prey here? Who is the prey? Jacob, all right? The so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right? Through the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all right? Mind you, we're related to Yahushua, who you would ignorantly call Jesus. Another lie that's been told to you. His name's Jesus, all right? When Jesus is a Greek name, all right, with a J that was not existent until, 1526 or something like that. Let me see. 1524. I always go 2 years older. 1524, 1524, 1524. The J was invented in 1524. In 1524, the year 1524 is when the J was invented. All right, by George Giano Trissano in 1524. All right, doing that for myself. Maybe I'll remember that in 1524, that's when the J was invented in 1524. Okay, so Yahushua was born a lot earlier than 1524. So how could there have been a J in the name of Jesus? All right, Jesus is Greek. He was born Hebrew, still is Hebrew, so he would have had a Hebrew name, not Greek. Okay, so it couldn't have been Jesus. Could not have been. Okay, it's Yahushua. All right, in the original Paleo Hebrew, Yahushua. That's the name. Okay, believe it, don't believe it, doesn't matter to us. We don't care if you don't believe it or not. All right, at the end of the day, it's if you don't believe it, you're wrong. All right, we don't care. I don't believe. Hey, everybody, I don't believe that's the name. Hey, shut up. Nobody cares. You want me to believe the name? Well, yeah, but if you don't, nobody cares because at the end of the day, we can't force you to believe. We're not going to stop the train. Hold up, everybody. He doesn't believe. Fuck you, man. You're an asshole. Get out of here. We don't care if you don't believe. All right, because we don't care if you don't believe that's the name. You want to know why we don't care? Because obviously the Lord didn't give it to you. It wasn't for you to believe. All right, He's not dealing with you. All right, we're not like these Christians. You must believe that's His name. No, I don't believe that's His name. Cool. Well, here's why it's His name. I still don't believe. Cool. Fuck off and kick rocks. Get out of here, man. No, I said I don't believe. I said I don't give a shit. Get out of here. We don't care. You're obviously either an Edomite or a bug out. So get out of here. Whatever one you are, we don't want none to deal with you. Get away from us. We don't have no dealings with no unbelieving ass, scoffing ass hater. We don't want none of that, man. All right? It's useless. Like the Christians, they'll take someone who doesn't believe and they'll keep on. Do you believe now? Do you believe now? Do you believe? No, man. No. You're wasting your breath. You're wasting your time. If you don't believe that's the name, hey, that just shows that you're a fucking idiot. All right? And we don't care. All right? And does it piss us off? Yeah, it pisses us off. It pisses us off. But we're not going to stop our life. Oh, he doesn't believe in the name. Cool. Hey, wasn't for them to get. All right? That's it. All right. Would we prefer Jake get the name? Yeah. All right. Hell, even the Lord Himself said, he wishes that all people would come into repentance. All right. That's just not the way. All right. That's just not the way. All right. And we know Esau's not going to do it. All right. So that's how it goes, man. And this place will lie to you and lie to you and lie to you and lie to you and lie to you, and your silly little ass will believe everything that they say. All right. So the Edomites, right here, Ecclesiastes 12:10, it says, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." All right, when iron rusts or anything rusts, it doesn't get better. All right, you have to if you have a truck and it's part of it's rusting, you have to grind all of the rust off. Okay, you have to grind all of the rust off. All right, because if you don't, all right, the rust will continue to. It's like a disease; it'll continue to spread and rust and rust and rust. You have to grind all of it off and then use shit like Bondo. All right, rust doesn't get better. All right, it doesn't get better. You have to grind it all off and pave it over with something new. Rust doesn't get better. As you let rust sit, it just disintegrates and little chunks fall off more and more and more until you have a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger hole. So this guy's never gonna. No, he changed. He's not as evil. No, he doesn't. All right, he didn't. Ecclesiastes 12:10. Never trust thine enemy. For like his iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. His wickedness just gets worse and worse and worse. It doesn't get better. All right, it doesn't get better. He never changed. All right, kept um perpetual hatred. This is Ezekiel 35:5. Again, talking about Mount Seir, which is talking about Esau. All right, because that's where the Idumeans live, the Edomites. All right, who are the Idumeans? All right, in the land of Idumea. All right, Mount Seir. Ezekiel 35:5. It says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time. We got to get from verse 4. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, because we're in a time of calamity, in time that their iniquity had an end. Okay? So, perpetual hatred. All right? Right here, verse 6. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. That thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. That's what you got coming to you, Esau, because you want to do all this evil ass shit. All right, and well, let's get another one. Hide me from the secret. Psalm 64:2. We'll get it here in a minute. But before we do that, let's go and show you that they have done these things before. False flag events, because you have a lot of people, no, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that. Yes, they would. Operation Northwoods was a proposed false flag operation that originated within the Department of Defense of the United States government in 1962. The proposals called for the CIA operatives to both stage and commit acts of terrorism against American military and civilian targets. So they were going to commit terrorism against civilians and American military and blame them on the Cuban government and use them to justify a war against Cuba. The possibilities detailed in the document included the remote control of civilian aircraft, which would be secretly repainted as U.S. Air Force planes, a fabricated shoot down of a U.S. force fighter aircraft off the coast of Cuba, the possible assassination of Cuban immigrants, sinking boats of the Cuban refugees on the high seas, blowing up a U.S. ship, and orchestrating terrorism in U.S. cities, so killing United States civilians. Would the government would do that? Yes. The proposals were rejected by President John F. Kennedy, and this was in 1962. When was JFK assassinated? 1963, only 1 year later. Interesting. Interesting indeed. You dummies don't look anything up. And then you got the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was all just a bunch of fucking. It's all little. Look, man. I literally looked up right here. I was talking about Cuban Missile Crisis earlier. I was looking up stuff about Cuban Missile Crisis, but going down here is what really gets into heat. I said, what started what started American-Cuba animosity? Like, what started them fighting and stuff? It says, all right, the beef between the U.S. and Cuba, it didn't just start overnight, but it built up over decades. But the real modern animosity kicked off hard in the late 1950s. Here's the breakdown. The Cuban, and it shows you just how evil the Americans are, the Edomites, the so-called white people are. It says the Cuban Revolution, 1953 and 1959, and that CU, it's supposed to be a Cuban flag. That's what it's supposed to be, actually. It says Fidel Castro and his revolutionary crew because everybody thought, oh, Fidel Castro was evil, evil, evil. Well, he was, he's a politician at the end of the day, so he's not a saint or anything, but listen to this, will give you a different perspective. Fidel Castro and his revolutionary crew overthrew Fulgencio Batista, who was a U.S.-backed dictator. So Batista was he was backed by the United States. Batista was corrupt as hell, but the U.S. liked him because he played ball with American business interests, like sugar companies, casinos, and hotels. Basically, the U.S. had a ton of influence in Cuba, and Batista let it happen. When Castro rolls in, Batista runs off, and now there's a new sheriff in town. The U.S. didn't like that too much because now it's touched in their pockets. They didn't like that. All the American government is a big fucking mafia. It says Castro goes communist. At first, Castro wasn't shouting, I'm a communist, but he nationalized American-owned businesses and land, meaning he took them away and made them property of the Cuban government. The U.S. freaked out, like, you can't just take our stuff, even though that's what they fucking do all the time. That's what they do. They didn't like it when it happens to them. All right, he said, no, it's on my line, man. It's on my fucking line, man. I'm taking it, man. You can't do that. That's our stuff. We're supposed to be the one that takes things. By 1961, Castro was fully in bed with the Soviet Union and declared Cuba a communist country. That was like waving a red flag in front of a bull during the Cold War. Good. And that's what, and they always paint Cuba and Russia out to be evil. They're not evil. They're not evil people. Okay? They're not. I mean, they are. They are. Don't get me wrong, because especially the Russians, because they are Edomites at the end of the day. But they're not any eviler. What I meant to say, Salakia. What I meant to say was they're not any eviler than America. All right, they're not. That's what America always know. They're more evil. They're evil. They're evil. They're not any more evil than you. All right, they haven't done more evil shit than you. All right, they're pretty much on par. To a less, they're not even really as evil as you. To a less, well, they assassinate people. Yeah, the American citizen just knows that Russia assassinates people and kills people that talk out about the government. All right, the difference is that the U.S. keeps it quieter. All right, there's an old joke. It says, how's it go, man? An old CIA joke. It says, a KGB and CIA sit at a bar joke. Yeah, there it is. Right here. A KGB spy and a CIA agent meet up at a bar for a friendly drink. I have to admit, I'm always so impressed by Soviet propaganda. You really know how to get people worked up, the CIA agent says. Thank you, the KGB says. We do our best, but truly, it is nothing compared to American propaganda. Your people believe everything your state media tells them. The CIA drops his drink in shock and disgust. Thank you, friend, but you must be confused. There's no propaganda in America, right? So, for those of you that didn't understand that joke, it's basically, look, man, you just don't see it. That's the difference. Everybody knows about the Soviet propaganda. All right, there's no American propaganda. There is. You just don't know it. All right, that's because that's how good it is. All right, U.S. is just a little bit better at it, a little sneakier and snakier with it. All right, that's what it is. They're just better at covering their shit. Now, as we get closer and closer to the end, it's not so good. It's really starting to show. But yeah, man. It's that's the joke, because the joke was that, there's no propaganda in America. What are you talking about, right? So that's the joke. All right, it's funny from a political perspective. So then, all right, getting back to this ChatGPT thing, the U.S. retaliates. They didn't like that very much, right? The U.S. was not having it. Here's what they did: they cut diplomatic ties with Cuba in 1961. They put an embargo on Cuba, meaning no trade, no business. Tried to kill Castro several fucking times, several. All right, it says literally the CIA had a whole folder of ridiculous assassination plots. Why? Why? All because he didn't want government. He didn't want American control in Cuba anymore. Now you launch a full-out war against him. And it goes back to the it's called the oh man, what do they call it? Let me ponder. Not capitalist conspiracy. Man, what is it? It's I have it in my favorites. Bear with me. Not my videos. It's called the this is the video. What is it called? Economic Hitman. All right, Economic Hitman. And, that's basically what they do. All right? They like their control, and when they don't get it, well, they send a little hit crew out. All right? And that, first they send in their special ops. That doesn't work, then they send in the US military or vice versa. First they send in the US military. If that doesn't work, they send in the special ops. Or I think it's the other way around. I think they send in their special people to assassinate first. If that doesn't work, then, then the military comes in, cleaning crew. So, then 1961, the Bay of Pigs. It says this is when it really hit the fan. It says the U.S. tried to secretly invade Cuba using Cuban exiles. It flopped badly, and Castro's forces destroyed the invaders. Castro came out looking like a hero to many Cubans and gave the U.S. a huge middle finger. Then, right in 1962, that's when they proposed, okay, we got to get into war with these motherfuckers. Right? This is fucking pissing me off. Right? We got to kill them. right? And that's what they want to do because no one makes the United States look like a bunch of punks, and they did. They made you look like a bunch of little fucking sissy bitches, man. That's what they made you look like. It says in the Cuban Missile Crisis, 1962. After the failed invasion, Castro said, "I need protection," and let the Soviets set up nuclear missiles in Cuba. That turned the Cold War into a nail biter and almost got everyone nuked. U.S.-Cuba relations were done for, all because they wanted to protect themselves. So here it is. You got this guy that's bullying you, and you say, "Hey, man, you need to get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here." And they're working with this big bully. This bully's working with this big bully. Say, "Hey, I don't like you in my country. You got to go." And then the big bully says, "Hey, wait a minute. What'd you do with the bully? You're not getting bullied anymore. All right, fuck you. We're still getting our no. You fucked us up enough. We're keeping all these businesses. Fuck you. Oh, so now you're gonna do what we do to other people? Fuck you. All right, we're gonna launch an invade. We're gonna try to kill you now. All right, we're gonna try to kill you. Fuck you. All right, now we're gonna invade you. Oh, what? Oh, you destroyed us? Oh, okay, that's it. We're gonna fucking get you. Oh, no, I don't want that, man. Hey, you guys are getting a little too hostile. I'm gonna partner up with the Soviets because they're not doing this to me and they'll help me out. Oh, so now you're there. Now we're really gonna fucking kill you. And somehow Castro was the bad guy? Do you realize the propaganda that's been fed within your mind, you Americans? All right. And again, I live in America. I have an American birth certificate. At the end of the day, we all do here. All right. But we do not call ourselves American. All right. Because an American is a person whose mind has been touched by American propaganda, has been fed lies, and believes every single bit of it, thinks the government would never hurt them, never harm them, and daddy would always be just so good to them. That's an American. And we're not that. We are Israelites. We know what's going on. Okay. We understand the bullshit. Okay. We understand that this is all a bunch of fucking lies. All right. But you're too dumb to understand it. It's a big, like George Carlin said, it's all a big group and you're not in it. All right. Here. It's comedy, but I'm willing to play it on South because it's not even really comedy. You know? It's funny because it's true. That's what makes it funny.
Not too bright, folks. Not too fucking bright. But if you talk to one of them about this.
And by the way, I have the right, all right, in the U.S., which this video is coming out from, to use this, all right, for commentary. All right, it's protected within copyright. I can do it. All right, it's not an act of infringement. I'm allowed to use it. I'm allowed to use it. Okay?
If you isolate one of them, you sit them down rationally, and you talk to them about the low IQs and the dumb behavior and the bad decisions. Right away, they start talking about education. That's the big answer to everything. Education. They say we need more money for education. We need more books, more teachers, more classrooms, more schools. We need more testing for the kids. And you say to them, well, we've tried all of that, and the kids still can't pass the test. They say, don't you worry about that. We're going to lower the passing grades. And that's what they do in a lot of these schools now. They lower the passing grades so more kids can pass. More kids pass, the school looks good, everybody's happy, the IQ of the country slips another 2 or 3 points, and pretty soon all you'll need to get into college is a fucking pencil. Got a pencil.
And this was years ago, and now all you need to get into college is a fucking pencil. Anybody can do it. Some of the most dumb fucks come out of college. Crazy, man. This guy was ahead of his time.
So get the fuck in there, it's physics. Then everyone wonders why 17 other countries graduate more scientists than we do. Education. Politicians know that word. They use it on you. Politicians have traditionally hidden behind 3 things: the flag, the Bible, and children. No child left behind. No child left behind. Oh, really? Well, it wasn't long ago you were talking about giving kids a head start. Head start, left behind. Someone's losing fucking ground here. But there's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now.
There you go. The real owners. Here you go.
Real owners. The big, wealthy business interests that control things.
The elite. Okay? The elite. Okay, they do not want a country of free thinkers. It goes against their agenda. Okay, so they keep the population dumbed down, and those schools, the only thing they're really good for is minor education and then also indoctrination. All right, and they go there and there's Pride Fest. They tell you what's okay, what's not acceptable. You can say this, you can't say this. I remember in school. I remember when they came out and they were saying, "Oh, now you can't say that's gay anymore. You can't say fag anymore. Don't say retard." All right, because it hurts people, and then they started doing the TVs, and they start making you have more. They try to make you have more sympathy and empathy for these people. all indoctrination.
Things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice.
Yep.
You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back.
And a lot of people back then would said, "Oh no, that's not true. Not in the Social Security." And they've already saying right now that they're basically people my age in their 20s and late 20s and 30s were paying into Social Security for all the older people that are already on it. But Social Security is not going to be a thing. Well, we already know it's not going to be a thing because we're going to be out here through Spirit Power, Yahweh Shem Shai. We don't have 10, 15 fucking years, 5, 10 years, none of that shit. But theoretically, if we did, and when by the time I'm 50, all right, if I'd even make it there, all right, if even some of us would make it there because various levels of health, or some of us are already old, we wouldn't even have enough to cover our Social Security. All right, it would be gone. It would be evaporated. So what the fuck were we paying into Social Security for all these years for? All right, to cover the people from the past generations. Right. So I'll continue to play it. Here you go.
So they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they use to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all. At all.
Donald Trump's going to help us. This is way before he even ran for office.
At all. Man. You know? And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on. The fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being jammed up their assholes every day. Because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
There you go. Got to be asleep to believe it. Bam. Bam. All right. So, this guy, he died not too long after that. Where was it? Died not too long after this coincidence. He was fucking old as shit. He was old as hell. All right. How old was George Carlin? He was 71. I won't say he was old as shit, but 71 is definitely, old enough to die from natural causes. Okay? So, could they have
One
killed
of our
him?
proudest comedy finds is
Could they have killed him? Sure. I don't necessarily think so. Congestive heart failure. All right? So, there you go. But yeah, man, he was a comedian for years, and towards the latter end of his life, he was more so. He got really into political comedy. So, he was great. All right, great. He really started all of it. Like he says, it says he was dubbed the dean of counterculture comedians. He really started. When you see Dave Chappelle talking about all the political issues and stuff. Who really all started that? George Carlin really started getting at it. Okay, you really started getting at it. Um, so yeah, man. What was his net worth when he died? 10 million. Why was he discharged from the military? Incompatibility with military life. What does she do? She's a radio host, actress, and screenwriter. Um, interesting. Interesting. You can see. All right. And we're going to talk about that big club, and then we're going to close out. Okay. So here's that big club. This is Psalm 64 and 2. We'll actually get it from verse 1 to start off from the top. Verse 1, to the chief musician, a psalm of David. Hear my voice, O Yahweh, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. A council is a group or a body of people that sit around and do things, all right? And this is a council of the wicked. The wicked have a council. Who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. And these are their doctrines and ideologies and new thought process that they want to get out to the masses, right? They shoot these things. It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privately. They say, who shall see them, right? Transgenderism is another one of those. That's a snare, right? You fall in, and you can't. That's ultimate level of confusion. You got a penis and you don't even know you're a man. All right, you got a vagina, don't even know you're a woman. That's an ultimate level of confusion. Babylon. All right, that means a confused noise. Psalms 46. Dyslexia. Psalm 64 and 6. They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them, and the heart is deep. But Yahweh shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly they shall be wounded. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. And the example I always get for this is with Kanye. All right, Kanye is a perfect example of this. All right, talking about, hey, these 1948ers, you can't say anything about it. You do anything, they'll cancel. Hey, you can't say that. That's anti-Shem. That's anti-Shem. Don't say that. They don't control everything. No, they're going to take everything down. No, they won't. They can't do that. Takes everything down. Wait a minute. He said they were going to do that. Now they took everything down. Maybe he was right. Maybe they do control everything. And that was the narrative that was being thought for quite a while. And before then, I did not see so many people critical of 1948 or small hats. All right? And we're using code language for a reason. Now, people know all these people control the fucking media. Yeah, they're the ones doing all this fucking shit. Before that, if you said that, oh my God. I mean, it's still to the level where people call you out for it, but it's not to the level it was before then. Like, no, that's not the case. Now it's like, no, well, they do control some things, but they're not nefarious with it, right? They're trying to cover ass, all right? And because of that, like 64 and 8 says, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away, because the Lord shot them with an arrow, and it revealed them, all right? And now everyone's saying, no, look what they did with Kanye. They took away he got blocked from, I think, the people that are doing his music. Yeezys got taken down. And Yeezys, can't wear Yeezys. I got a pair of Yeezys. Fuck you. All right. I bought them after the fact. All right. I don't give a shit. Why? Because he said some shit about some dirty ass little fucking 1948. I don't give a fuck. Right? Stupid, man. You can criticize everybody but us. All right? Dumb, man. And these guys are just, look, man. This is how they are. They're liars. All right. And the Lord's gonna reveal them and reveal them and reveal them. And the dumbass little people, just like George Carlin was saying, the dumbass little people are never going to believe it. All right, they're going to continue on shuffling from one place to another while the work hours get longer, the jobs get worse. And they're going to say, no. See, if we want to fix this, we got to vote for Donald Trump. You fucking dummy. You dummy. You think he gives a shit about you? He doesn't give a shit about you. He would kill you for $5. All right, if he knew he wouldn't be caught. All right? Psalms 58 and 3. That's where we're going to close out. Actually, you know what? Get another scripture, and then we'll get that, and then we'll close out. Let's get Proverbs 4 and 16. All right. It reads, for they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. They're always getting themselves into controversies and little things and mischief. And remember, mischief has been changed. That's another thing that they've changed. They've changed that word to be, oh, harmful little prank. No, mischief is wicked. It's evil. All right, you can look that up. No, more homework for you. Don't look up the original definition of mischief. All right, it means evil, wickedness. All right, now, oh, he's just being mischievous. Well, he put a fake turd on the ground. No, wickedness. Wickedness. Okay? That's what it is. And finally, Psalms 58:3. The wicked, again, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born. Slakia. Speaking lies. One more time. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. There you go. And I got to get verse 4 as well, because it says, their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear. There you go. So this is this is them. So yeah, they would absolutely pull some shit like a false flag event. All right, they absolutely would. Now, are they going to? All right, with regards to what Anonymous says, hey, they could not. Could be something, could be nothing. All right, but have they done those things before? Yes. Will they do those things again? Yes. Will it necessarily be what they're saying? Who knows? Could be something, could be nothing. Don't be ignorant, all right, of a great matter or small. Another one is, we are not ignorant. Let's get this one right here. This is 2 Corinthians 2:11, if I get it in the King James Version. It says, this is 2 Corinthians 2:11, lest Satan should get advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. We know the type of stuff he does, all right? So don't be ignorant, okay? So that's where we're going to close out, all right? Lord, one lesson was edifying. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. I want to say shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring. Keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Keep a watchful eye out. Could be nothing. Could be something. Till next one, Lord willing. Shalom.